Well, hello everybody. My name is Gary Johnson, and if you are watching this webinar, congratulations. That means that your doctor or doctors have made the decision to invest in you and in your practice. We're going to be talking about getting the most out of your webinars and what that looks like. And so with that said, I want to cover just a few things with you today. First and foremost, again, I think it's awesome that your doctor or doctors have decided to invest in you. One of the best ways we can get better as a person, as an individual, as a company, is train and to continue to train to get better and look for ways that we can improve our processes. I know most of you out there are not in love with change, and I understand. Americans were surveyed not too long ago and asked what their greatest fear was. The number one fear was public speaking, the number two fear was change, and the number three fear was death. So to put that into perspective, if they were at a funeral, they would rather be in the casket than read the eulogy or change their lifestyle. So I know change is hard, and I'm not asking you to overhaul your process here. I'm asking you to tweak it. And the reason that I say that is most of the practices involved in this program are with exceptionally successful practices. In fact, the majority of the practices out there on this webinar are in the top 10% of all orthodontists in the United States. So they're already doing a really, really good job. The point of this webinar series is not to pat each other on the back and talk about what a good job we're already doing. The point of this webinar is to continue to get better, continuous improvement. And one of the real dangers of being really, really good is that we are really, really good. And that causes us to become complacent from time to time or skip steps or do things differently than maybe we used to do. And what hopefully this webinar series is going to do is help you or help remind you of the things we need to do to be successful. So let's go into a couple of things to make sure these webinars work out really, really well for you. First and foremost, these webinars will be coming out once a month. Originally, when I decided to do this program, I was going to do live webinars and have you guys participate that way. But unfortunately, there's just so much conflict when it comes to schedules from practice to practice that what we've decided to do instead is to record them live and then have that recording up on my website and available by the third week of every month, or when you get my email, you'll see that. But usually by the third week of every month, they'll be up. So the January and February are currently up as I'm filming this in March, but they'll all be up throughout the year, and then they'll be archived there. You can get to them as well as the handouts anytime throughout the year using a password that will be provided to your practice. So anyway, want to make sure you know that. So once these are up, you decide as a practice when you want to watch them throughout the month. Typically by the third week, they'll be there. When you do watch the webinar, it really should be your intention of how can you pick up an idea or two from each webinar. I'm not expecting you to say, oh my gosh, I love every idea here. That's fine. The goal is for you to walk out of that webinar going, I love this one idea, or I love this particular idea, so that you have things that you can go back and implement right away. There should never be a webinar that you go through that you can't pick up one or two good ideas. They're designed in order to be able to do that for you. So that's the goal. Once you've watched that webinar, you will have been provided on the website some handouts, one of which is an action plan. And that action plan you want to complete after each webinar that you go through. And it's basically laid out so that you can say, here's what I got out of today's webinar, here's what it's going to take to implement it in our practice, here's what resources it'll take, and here's how we'll measure it, and how often we'll measure it to make sure it's working. And that'll be something that you'll share with your practice administrator and or your doctor at least monthly. So you go through this, you schedule a time to get with them, you say, here was the topic of the webinar, here's what I got out of it, here are the ideas I think we should implement, and get their feedback as you do that. This is really your program, and it's a program that you really want to own so that you can drive these changes and these improvements in your practice. So I strongly recommend that you do that. Lastly, I'm going to ask that you send a copy of that action plan to me, because every 3 months or so we're going to get together kind of like this, but it'll be live, one-on-one as a practice, to talk about what ideas have worked really well in your practice, what ideas you're struggling with, and we'll put together action plans to improve what you've already got out of the program, or to help with things that for some reason you weren't able to get done. You can send those to me, as it says right here on the handout, at gary@wildinstitute.com. I'm available to all of you anytime throughout the year for any question you might have, any struggle you might be coming up with in your treatment coordinating role. And that number is 636-544-2145. You can text me at that number as well. I really, really look forward to working with you. Last point I want to make, you may be asking yourself, well, what does this guy know about my job? Real briefly, I want to let you know my website, which is listed on here, is www.wowdinstitute.com. I hold 2 graduate degrees in business, a master's in management, and also an MBA. I've spent the last 6 years as executive vice president of one of the largest orthodontic companies in the United States. And as part of that job, I was constantly going around the country, meeting with the best practices out there, consulting with them, and making recommendations on improvement based on my 20 plus years in consultative selling. And so I was able to meet with these best practices and give best ideas that I'm now bringing to you. I also wrote a book called Wowed, W-O-W-E-D, with an exclamation point on it. I've been asked to speak on that book at many groups that you're familiar with, the Shulman Group, the AAO, the SAO, and many others. So that's my background, and I'm here to be your coach. I'm here to help you any way I can. I'm really looking forward to working with you. If you have any questions, please email me or text me. I look forward to this working great for you. Congratulations on your practice's decision to get better. Have a great day.